Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Ladies, listen.
A billion years in the making.
Off to Neverland.
What do you know?
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye.
Hey, everyone, this is Richard.
And this is Sarah.
Hey, we want to thank everyone for listening to our first episode of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
You guys sent us a lot of great feedback, which we really, really appreciate. We're still playing with the format here. For this episode, we're going to do a smaller show, and then next week we'll do a bigger show with all the full segments, and then we'll do the smaller discussion show and a big show the next week. So it'll be big show, small show, big show, small show.
Yeah, we figured that'll give us a nice rhythm.
And as we found out, putting these podcasts together, it's a lot of hard work.
Yes, it is.
But it's a labor of love, and we love doing it. But we also love doing the really full in-depth discussions, which we're going to do today on our new segment called Wookiees, Capes, Wings, and Wands, where we get a whole bunch of our friends together and we have a discussion.
We're going to discuss things that we're interested in that have to do with pop culture. So every other week, we're going to pick a subject.
And if you have something you want us to discuss, by all means, let us know.
So before we begin the discussion, I'd like to give a shout out to Katrina Brinkert. She was actually the 100th person to like us on our Facebook
Thanks,
page.
Katrina. Thank you very much. And hopefully by next episode, we'll have 500 likes.
Whoa.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, once again, that's facebook.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland.
And while you're on the social media grid, why don't you go over to iTunes and subscribe?
That's right.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Yeah, and while you're subscribing, write us a review.
Yeah, 5 stars just really helps us in the ratings. And then if you want to be on our show, the more people will listen to you.
It's a win-win for everybody. All right, so sit back and enjoy Wookiees, Capes, Wings, and Wands. This week, we're going to be talking about superhero television. Since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has just come out a couple of weeks ago and doing really, really well, I think it's a good time to talk about how superheroes have progressed in television from the 1950s all the way up to today and beyond. With me today is my good friend, Dave Scale.
Hopefully I'll be a champion someday.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Sitting next to him is editor of TPZ, the Star Wars fan film, and now award-winning editor on the short film Liberator. It's Marco Gushewitz.
Hey.
Sitting next to him is his wife, Kara.
Hi.
And next to her is my wife and co-host, Sarah.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. And she's wearing her Supergirl shirt.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, we are ready to pod.
Complete with a cape.
Complete with a cape. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Premiered last week. What are we all thinking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I am totally stoked. It's like bringing the whole Marvel world now on a weekly basis, every week on TV, and the production value's up there. They're spending the money to do it right, and they're tying it into the whole, all the movies. So we're getting a weekly dose now of all the big action-adventure films that we've had to wait until summertime to see.
One of the best things about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the beginning, they have that Marvel animated logo. It's like something you only see in the movies. Now you're seeing it on television, so you know this is something to watch.
It's a branding.
That's what?
It's branding.
It is branding. It does a very good job because when I see that logo, even when we're at the movies and I see that when they're showing the previews, if I see that logo, I'll nudge someone. I don't care if they're a stranger or not. It's a Marvel movie. It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, you get all excited.
I do get excited
It's
because
like the 20th Century Fox sound before anything Star Wars.
Now.
Oh, well, one of the things I really love about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., actually, it has that whole kind of adventure quality like Indiana Jones does, where it's excitement, there's like one-liner humor in there. There's also, you can feel the developing characters as they develop, and it's really fun.
It also has the one thing that DC films are missing. Humor.
Yes.
Humor.
Yeah, a lot of...
And so far, they've been
corny
capturing the
jokes.
same humor as the movies. The movies are funny.
What about quality?
And quality.
Oh, great quality.
Oh, great quality.
I mean, the Marvel Universe seems to be coming in much stronger than DC, especially after Man of Steel, which took it all the way down.
Yeah. Yeah, between Green Lantern and Man of Steel.
I
Ain't
like
looking good.
Green Lantern. Don't be rude. I like Green Lantern.
We're
It
talking
was
about
cute.
We're talking about TV here.
Yeah. Let's not get into the movies.
Although the Superman TV shows could have been a little bit better, too.
Oh, but Lois and Clark and the
Well,
New
let's-
Adventures of Superman.
Okay, well, let's start all the way back to 1950s with The Adventures of Superman. Who here used to watch Adventures of Superman?
Me.
So 3
That-
out of the 4 of us.
That's everyone but
4
me.
of the 5 of us.
But Sarah. Everyone but Sarah.
Well, she just should leave right now.
Aww.
No.
It's before your time.
I remember the first time seeing them, and then I saw they would do the old reruns in black and white, and I'm like, why aren't these in color? Because, I was a little kid, and I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I used to always think his suit was gray. Because I used to have the little Mego doll. But then I would see the TV show. It's like, wait, no, it's not Superman. Superman isn't gray. He's blue and red. And his trunks were up to his chest. He had that cape that swooped all the way down. And I'm thinking, someone could just yank right on that and choke him. I know any superhero cape you can pull on it and choke him, but it just hung too low. Even as a kid,
In the front, in the
no,
back?
in the back,
Uh-huh.
like right where it connects to the back of the neck.
Okay.
It would hang down a good 1.5 feet.
Oh.
I remember The Incredible. Capes are no good.
Yes.
You die wearing a cape.
Yeah, but I think they retconned that in Batman because they gave each piece of his armor a function.
Yeah, but the original Superman didn't have to worry about it because, if I remember correctly, when he flew, the cape just laid flat on top of him anyway.
In these TV shows, it's funny to watch the progression from the 50s through the 60s
Oh, the
through
effects.
the 70s
The effects-
of the effects.
Can be a whole podcast unto itself
Yeah,
because those
look
are just
at-
funny.
Look
And-
at Batman where they had the words as a special effect. Wham, pow.
but in Superman, his flying effect was, I'm going to jump out of a window. And in mid-leap, they would just cut to give the illusion that he's jumping out of a window
Now,
and flying.
George Reeves was on the I Love Lucy show, right?
Yeah, George Reeve. Yeah, it's Christopher Reeves and George Reeve.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Not related.
and that was the very first time I ever heard of characters doing birthday parties
Oh!
because Lucy talked Superman into doing Little Ricky's birthday party.
Yes, he did.
So here's
fact-
little Ricky and all of his friends in the living room, and Superman comes busting through the sliding doors, and the kids are going crazy. And the first thing he says is, "Who wants to wrestle?" Who wants to wrestle? What does that mean?
I don't
You're
know.
Superman. Now you want to fight children. Bust out the magic and the face painting and the balloons. Don't wrestle the kids. These days, you can get arrested for that. So that was my introduction to Superman, the adventures of Superman. The next progression from Superman would be Batman. Now, well, Batman was the 1966.
60s Batman.
Yeah, and I can say this was I think I used to watch Batman before I watched Superman, so Batman was my first introduction to superheroes.
Yeah, me too.
And I think for me, I love the pop comic look of the show because it didn't pretend to be anything more than it was.
A lot of people didn't like it because it didn't take Batman very serious. It was very jokey. It was very comic. I look back at it now and I laugh, and I find it actually very enjoyable to watch because of that.
But when you were a kid and when you watched it, what did you think?
Well, when I was a kid, I loved it, but I think the adults who read the Batman comics weren't so into it because of how jokey it was.
I think
and how
maybe
they
by
took it
then they'd
serious.
kind of forgotten or grew out of it so they could enjoy it on a whole new level.
Right. But I don't think it was ever meant to be taken
Oh, no.
completely serious like a lot
Not
of
at
people
all.
thought.
Not at all. As a kid, I used to think that you could slide down the pole in your street clothes and come down in your Batman uniform. I thought that's the way it worked. So I used to run in and out of doors. My clothes wouldn't change. I thought, okay, sliding down a pole is one thing, but maybe I can run in and out of a door really quickly, and I would change to a Batman costume.
That didn't work for you?
Not the first couple of times.
Worked for me?
Really?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
Gotham.
Oh, that explains it. And then I used to think that you could tilt the head on any statue. There'd be a secret red button over there. So True story. Where my dad brought us to his friend's house, and there was a bust on the piano. I'm thinking, oh my God! If I just tilt his head back, there's gonna be a red button, and we can go to his bat cave. 'Cause I thought everyone had a bat cave but us. So I went to go tilt his head back, and I slammed on the floor. It broke. I had a hard time explaining that one. but where's the Rich? You broke this guy's bust. But I still don't see a bat cave.
How old are you?
18.
No.
No, I was about 6 or 7 years old. But I just phased over the whole I broke this person's property, and I'm looking around looking for this bat cave. And I used to think everyone had a bat cave. Am I the only one?
I had a bat cave.
Mark?
No, I wasn't actually allowed to watch much TV, so I got into it a lot later in life. And I was a little bit smarter at that point than to think that I was, at 16 years old, you're not looking for bat caves.
No. But can we pause for a minute and admire Julie Newmar?
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. The introduction to spandex.
Oh.
And on someone like Julie Newmar, I appreciated spandex.
Spandex does a lot of great wonders.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was they're very mobile suits,
Yes.
except for the mask. Batman had extremely narrow eye slits. So I don't know why they never cut his eye open a little bit more so he could see. I know in the movies it's really open, so they get a paint around his eye all black. But this was so tight, like if someone's next to you, you're never gonna see them. How was that suit functional? Same with Robin. It seemed like his eye holes were always misplaced, like the suit was made for somebody else.
I seem to recall the little painted-on eyebrow above Batman's eyes.
Oh.
How are any superheroes' costumes functional? Even Superman. I mean, you'd figure they'd give him something more than just the tightest of tight clothing to walk around in.
He doesn't have
and Robin with the tight, the little short shorts. If he wore pants, he would be ineffective as a superhero. None of the superhero outfits really make much sense.
Yeah. Well, Batman had the utility belt.
Yeah, which was amazing because when he got attacked by a shark in the Batman movie they made, he had that shark repellent right there.
He said, "Take that, Sharknado." It could repel any shark or any tornado.
But I think it's kind of weird. If you think about it, when they came out with Batman, what did they have to model it after? Superman. And yet they took it in such a different direction. And it makes you think, what were they going for when they said, gee, we should maybe go with big cartoony characters and have those big pows and zaps. And that was a real big leap from the whole Superman approach. It makes you wonder where their head was.
Yeah, but the thing about the pows and the zaps and all that is it added to a very comic bookish kind of feel.
Exactly.
Which, getting ahead of ourselves here, is so totally missing from the television shows of today. Everything's taken so serious, and the superheroes have to be so serious that we forget they came from comics. And if you go back to the old Batman series, it feels like you're watching a comic. Even the reading of the pows and the, zonks and all that, you never get the sense that you're doing anything but reading a comic book, which is something, the evolution of superheroes has gotten rid of. And I actually think that's a big minus. And when we get to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's one of the things I think it's a little bit brought back. There was a little bit more of the fun put back into it. If you look at the superhero shows of today and the movies too, everything's got such a serious tone. It's probably why the Marvel movies are working better than the DC movies, because they're more colorful and they're more fun. But, you watch anything on the CW and it's just so serious and so dark and so empty of any kind of fun, and even the way it's shot, there's no colors or anything. And comic books were colorful and they were fun. Batman it worked with because Batman was always, he's the Dark Knight, so it works. But everything else, it's like you gotta remember that superheroes originally were for kids to have fun. They evolved to stuff that adults can watch too, because they got intelligent, or they could watch or they could read because they got intelligent. But now it's like just stupidity. And a lot of the shows of today lead up to, oh my God, how's he going to get out of it? And he gets out of it in the simplest of ways, and it's kind of, just a waste of time. Well, what did I get here for? Whereas back in the day, when you were watching movies like The Adventures of Spider-Man, which was just really corny, The Incredible Hulk,
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. They're kind of corny in today's standards when you look at it. But the reason why people are still talking about them 30, 40 years later, when you mention Wonder Woman, everybody says Linda Carter. And she was in the 70s. Mm-hmm. The reason they remember it is because they remember how fun those shows were.
Oh, very much so.
The shows of today, nobody's going to be talking about the shows of today in 30 years. They're still going to be talking about the shows of the 70s because they're too serious, they're no longer fun, and they're so incredibly forgettable.
Wonder Woman was not Linda Carter was not the first Wonder Woman.
But she was the one everyone remembered. Everybody doesn't remember Kathy Lee Crosby.
Well, I think if you say that's Incredibles, Kathy Lee Crosby, people will remember that.
That's incredible, and she was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, very much so. And that's one of the reasons why I don't watch Arrow, because they stripped him of the Green Arrow costume. They stripped away all the colors. I've tried getting into it. I just can't.
There's too much kissing going on in the CW shows. I like them, but there's just too much kissing.
Kissing? What? Why am I not watching the CW?
The S.H.I.E.L.D. is probably the first television show of its kind that I've made it past one episode. I sit there and I turn on these shows.
The S.H.I.E.L.D. or S.H.I.E.L.D.?
The S.H.I.E.L.D.
Michael Chiklis?
No.
Okay.
No, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever it's called.
All right. Marvel.
Although the Michael
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Michael Chiklis show is really good too. It's not a superhero.
All right, we can roll him into this because he did play the Thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., even though at first when I found out they were bringing Agent Coulson back, not really a spoiler, it was all over the commercials. That kind of ticked me off because it just ruins a part of the Avengers for me. But he's really good in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And where they've taken it is back to this fun way of doing things. But generally, I remember I got through 10 minutes of Arrow before I turned it off. That Beauty and the Beast, when I realized the Beast was only a beast, it was he looked like a model. I mean, they don't get what makes these shows so popular and why people like them. They just give us this trash. They throw it together really fast. It's like trash. And so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I haven't seen the second episode yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And it's been a long time since I could say that about a show of this kind.
It's very good, and not really a spoiler alert, but they do tie a lot of the Avengers.
It was one of the reasons why I liked, what was it called, No Ordinary Family? And I know that it only lasted a season, but it's sort of like when I watch an action movie now. If I see a stunt person doing actual stunts, it may be an okay movie, but I liked it better than the other one because I saw somebody actually in danger in these stunts. With No Ordinary Family, it wasn't a great show, but I enjoyed it because it was really a throwback to the 70s where at least they were trying to make give us some fun back in our shows. And
it was cute and innocent too. It was not serious.
Back to an innocent time. It's just the shows have stripped the fun out to try and say, hey, we got to be serious.
Yeah, you see a lot of that in Heroes. I loved Heroes, but it was devoid of a lot of fun. I think that's why they threw the character of Hero in there, just so he could be the comic relief.
But they didn't understand what they had with Heroes, which is why it bombed after the first season, because the first season did have those elements of fun in it.
After the second season, because it repeats itself again.
Yeah, it just went downhill when they realized... It's the same thing with shows like Walking Dead, where Walking Dead's now coming back, but for its second season it went downhill too, because they didn't understand why it was popular. They just said, oh, well, this is what this show's popular, we'll give them more of this, more of this, more of this, not realizing that when they give more of one thing, they take away from the other thing. And the reason it was popular is because it originally had the right mixture. And instead of giving more of something, they should have just kept that mixture the same. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened with Heroes. And I think that's what happens with a lot of shows. And they outwear their welcome because of it. And, hopefully it won't happen with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because there's so little on TV to look forward to nowadays.
Superheroes had gone from the 66 Batman to the very comic pop art to Shazam, where at the end of every episode was the moral discussion.
Right.
But of course, that was geared for Saturday morning TV kids.
Right.
It was a very different seriousness, though, in the sense of they took the show, like the show didn't have the comic kind of corny quality. Although if you look back at
It's
if you
very
look back
cool.
at it, you can't, it's the Shazam's almost like watching Spider-Man on the Electric Company in a lot of ways, because it's so ridiculous that nowadays when the bad guys are trying to take over the world, in Shazam the bad guys were stealing a bicycle. So
he never fought any bad guys.
But
He didn't have a Joker or Lex
never-
Luthor.
No. Even ISIS never fought any real villain.
No, I think she just fought the kids cheating in her class.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty much it.
it took a more serious subject matter kind of thing, but I don't know.
But then
A kid turning from 16-year-old kid to a 45-year-old man is kind of funny to me, so I'm not sure they took it 100%
well,
serious.
but you're missing something very important, Mark. He did yell Shazam, and a lightning bolt would hit his chest.
So is that why I'm so old now? As I said that word a little too much?
Way too many times.
God.
That's right, and he had the godly elders to speak to.
So the show was not animated, right? It was
No,
live
no,
action.
no. He would speak to the kind of like Mork from Ork. Mork would speak to the Orkians.
He talked to
They're like-
Orson.
Orson, thank you very much.
More Colin Orson. More Colin
Yeah,
Orson.
how did I forget that? Billy Batson would talk to the animated elders
Right.
about what had just happened, so they had a recap, and, well, this is why you should do this, and it's a good thing you taught him this, because now he learned a very valuable lesson.
That sounds a little bit like Quantum Leap, actually.
That's what Dave said.
Where
Well, that was the format in the 70s, if you
Yeah.
think about it. The same with the Hulk. You go from town to town,
Exactly,
solving
yeah.
people's problems
and
until
once you're done,
The Hulk
while
never.
staying one step ahead of the law.
Although the Hulk was one of the places where things started to get very serious, especially with
Right.
that music they play at the end.
But
But
I always play at the end where he's walking away.
but even with the
sappy
Hulk,
music.
as serious as the Hulk would get in tone, it still felt in a way that you were reading a comic book, because of the way it was shot, the way Bill Bixby portrayed Bruce Banner.
Until all the tight shots of him ripping his clothes and his eyeball turning blue. Very comic booky.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And then, of course, the way Lou Ferrigno played the Hulk was very, over the top in the way that he does that.
Right, right. But like Shazam, it was always... Hulk was never fighting a bad guy. He was fighting alcoholism.
wow.
No, I believe the Hulk fought
No, he
bad
fought
guys.
bad guys.
Why
Like,
did he fight a bad guy?
like when
So
the
he's
guy
fighting
trapped
child
him,
abuse.
when some robber trapped him in.
Oh, no, come on. I
No,
mean...
he fought bad guys all the time,
He fought
including the
bad
guy.
guy.
Wasn't some guy using the
Well,
Sasquatch in one episode to try?
Nah,
and
that
take
was $6
over
million
something?
man.
No, didn't the Hulk fight Sasquatch?
No,
No,
the Hulk
that's-
always fought
that's
maybe the
$6
dad who was
man.
abusing the son, but that's not really a super.
No.
That's not his Joker or his Lex Luthor.
Well, it's still different than somebody, bullying a kid,
Yeah, there were no super villains in the Hulk.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, there were no super
villain,
villains.
but there's bad people like the robberies.
And still,
Roberts,
it was a great way of doing it, because as a viewer, it's like, yeah, he's hitting that kid, or he's abusing his wife. Go get him, Hulk. It's like watching us beating the crap out of these guys who were causing all this injustice.
For some reason, I remember the Hulk fighting real bad guys, because it was always, the bad guys beating up on him that turned him into the Hulk, and then he would, take over and do his thing at the end of every episode. But you're right. I mean, that was a different kind of seriousness. But even though it was serious, it still felt like the comic books. in a way.
And it had to. It was the Hulk.
Oh, you know what's funny though? It just occurred to me is in the midst of all of this, you're talking the early '90s. Just within a couple of years, one of the most popular shows out there, Power Rangers, which had none of this stuff. I mean, it was
It's still going on TV and Saturday morning.
it was
by
the
the
most
way.
low budget, horrible writing, horrible acting, horrible
That's why
effects.
it was good. That's why Power Rangers was good. It was actually that was like a ripoff of all of the Japanese movies. Like I want to say Inframan, because that's my favorite of all of them. But it was actually Ultraman.
It wasn't really ripping them off, because
Well, it was kinda
because those
doing them,
clips
wasn't it?
of the Rangers were the actual 1977 shot footage that Saban had bought and inserted, shot other scenes around that, and it all just blended together. He would have these kids, and then when they turned into Power Rangers, they would cut to the already pre-shot footage.
But the pre-shot footage was from what?
It was from a Japanese show in the 70s and early 80s.
Because I remember we first watched, me and a friend of mine first watched this movie called Inframan, because we were watching Siskel and Ebert, and they were doing, movies they were embarrassed to say they loved, and one of them was this movie called Inframan, where it was I think it's Japanese, and big paper mache headed monsters where they're let's go kill Inframan, and their lips weren't their mouths weren't moving, they were just, and it was just the funniest thing. And then you start watching some of these things, and then Power Rangers comes out, and I enjoyed Power Rangers. To a point, then after you've seen 10 episodes, all of a sudden you don't really need to see anymore. But,
Exactly.
But it was fun, for a little
Yeah.
while.
Well, for me, go ahead.
I was just thinking somehow that low budget
Yeah,
Power Ranger,
that was really fun.
It just hit all the buttons though, and in the midst of high production Batman and
Yeah.
with that,
It
did that
brought us
wind up
back
being-
to our youth when things weren't big budgeted, but they were very cheesy. And for me, I love those costumes. I love the colorful costumes, and for me, it's all about the costume, which is why I'm not a big fan of Arrow, just because they took away the Green Arrow's green costume.
You know what? That's interesting to go around the room. For you, it's all about the costumes for superheroes.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's all about the music. Like if the music is great, I'm in. What about you, Cara?
Power.
Power. Okay,
Sorry. Power come first.
Mark.
To me, it's all about the characters and the story. I want a good superhero that's got a really good character that I can really root for, and also it's about the fun, because when I go see a superhero movie, I don't need to be taken to some Oscar caliber serious movie. Although I thought the Avengers should have been nominated for an Oscar, I don't think I need something that's going to get me crying. I just want to go have fun. And that's what superhero movies are supposed to do.
Yeah, I got a back mark. I think for me, when I think of my two favorite superhero series, the X-Men because of the characters, and the Ninja Turtles because of the fun.
Although the Ninja Turtles, the first movie was like the only really good movie, but man, that movie was funny.
Now, are you talking about
it
the animated TV shows?
No.
Live action.
The live
Live
action
action.
movie.
Oh yeah.
That
I remember
first live
those.
action movie. I was working at a movie theater, and it was Thursday night, and they had just built up the movie. This was when they used to build up movies; it wasn't digital. And they're like, "Hey, you want to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies?" I'm like, "Oh, that's gonna be stupid." And then the movie starts, and something happens, and they get into a big fight. But instead of showing the big fight, it just cuts to black, and you're, and then the lights come back up, and everybody's been beat up. And I just was caught from that point on. I just realized it was gonna be just fun. I'm a 10-year-old kid again.
For me, watching that scene, all I heard was Corey Feldman going, "Hoo, hee, hoo, hoo."
Well, you know
Corey
what's,
Feldman.
Corey Feldman. That's all I heard was his
This is a
voice.
name that should never enter a podcast.
what's
He's a very nice
interesting-
guy. I've met him.
What's amazing about the Ninja Turtles is what started out as a parody, a prank. They wound up hitting on all of the secret formula for what
Yeah.
makes superheroes
And
successful.
for me with the Ninja Turtles, it was all about the bright colors of their masks and their accessories. I love the colors.
But they were also really great characters. They didn't just say, "Oh, we're going to have mutant Ninja Turtles, and that's all it's going to take." They really gave them all really good personalities, and it was just fun. It was just total cheeseball fun.
Yeah. Yeah, now
It
go
was
ahead.
cute and innocent fun.
Now for cute and innocent fun in superhero television, you can't help but think of The Greatest American Hero.
He's hilarious.
The 1981 William Catt Greatest American Hero, which William Catt was a very good, I think, runner-up for the role of Luke Skywalker. I saw his audition. He was very good as Luke.
Now, in his audition, did he have a perm? Because I could just imagine Luke with a perm. It'd be really funny.
Should they have gotten Robert Culp to play Obi-Wan?
Perhaps. Maybe Connie Selica as Chewbacca.
Well, I like Robert Culp as an actor. He did some really good television, but he's somebody who probably should have stayed on television.
Yeah, well,
I think
he was
did,
very good
actually.
in this
He
role.
was one of the great television actors.
And once again, this is a show I never really got into because I didn't know much of it. But when a friend showed me a picture of it,
Of the Greatest American
of
Hero?
the Greatest American Hero, I zoned right in on that red spandex suit, and I started watching it from there. Now that brought superheroes back to being fun again.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. You look, even now, you can go back and watch these shows and have fun with them. You're not going to. I think back then we were taking them a little bit more serious as kids, but now you look back and they're not dated, or the dated quality of them is part of the fun. And
Oh, very much so.
The fact that oh my God, I just zonked on his name, the Greatest American Hero,
William Catt.
William Catt, was able to pull it, because he really didn't do much after that. because he went and did that really bad movie House.
Didn't he do Fanboys?
Yes, he did. He was in Fanboys.
He was in another movie too.
He was in Carrie.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in Carrie, but he did a movie called I think it was Man on Earth.
Someone IMDb it.
Yeah. Takes place all it's kind of like just a bunch of people talking around, an alien kind of movie, but low budget. But he really didn't go on to do very much.
No.
But that's a lot of these superheroes, they get typecast.
Yeah.
The guy who did Rocketeer didn't go on to do much. Christopher Reeves, I think, had a hard time. He did some really good movies, but most of his stuff was a little bit more, tougher for him to find work outside of the Cape.
Yeah. And speaking of fun superhero shows, we cannot go any further until we mention Spidey Super Stories. that's James Bond. That's not the they've cued the Spider-Man music.
He's not a superhero. Of course, there's a debate on whether Batman's a superhero. He doesn't have superpowers.
Well, he's super smart.
Yeah,
That's
it's
his
like
power.
Iron Man too.
Maybe that's why
Iron
people
Man.
don't want Ben Affleck as Batman, because he's super
Iron Man's
smart.
But you know what? We're straying away from the current subject, which is
TV.
Spidey's Super Stories.
Okay.
Spider-Man. Oh, that's the animated show.
That was the animated. I don't remember Spidey Super Stories.
Spider-Man, where are you coming from, Spider-Man? Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah,
No,
this-
this is from the Electric Company.
Okay.
The little mini shorts within the Electric Company.
Starring who?
Spider-Man?
No. Well, you can say a Spider-Man, but I'm thinking of the Academy
thinking of
Award nominated
Academy Award-winning
winner.
Morgan Freeman and Tony Award-winning Rita Moreno.
Oh, I don't remember Rita Moreno.
Yeah, oh
my
yeah.
God.
Hey, you guys!
I just remember because I was rewatching them. You, Richard, gave me a copy of it to watch, and you're just watching. You're like, oh my God, that's Morgan Freeman, and it's like he's the stupidest thing, but it's hilarious because of it. Like, I think I enjoyed the Electric Company Spider-Mans more than the last Spider-Man movie. The Yeti who sits on ice cream cones because it's cold. and Spider-Man's got to go, because he keeps sitting on people's cakes and stuff.
And the villains who keep reversing letters and signs, and no one knows where to go. So far,
Those are real villains.
Those are real villains, because without direction in life, where are you going? I think that's the whole meaning and moral lesson behind Spidey Super Stories. Without direction, where are you going?
That Spider-Man actor never went on to do more.
Well, he was a dancer and puppeteer, so he went on to do other things, just not as an actor.
They never showed Peter Parker, though.
No,
So.
They just showed Spider-Man in his animated webs, in his thought bubbles. Why can't you have Spider-Man? Spider-Man talks, but he's only spoken in thought bubbles, but yet everyone else knew what he was saying because they would look up. Oh, Spider-Man, thank you for coming to my birthday party.
How cute.
There was a live-action one in the
Live
70s.
action one,
We had the round eyes,
Right.
and he had the big
The
clunky
big
gauntlets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he
That didn't
shoots.
last very long.
No, it got okay ratings, but the storylines just didn't appeal to the fans, and they said,
I like it.
no, we're just not buying this. And Sarah, who started as
Oh,
Spider-Man?
Nicholas Hammond.
Nicholas Hammond.
Who was Friedrich in Sound of Music.
Oh, well, I was going to say Marsha Brady's boyfriend in the Brady Bunch.
Well, he might have been that too, but he was Friedrich in Sound of Music, so that holds all appeal for me.
Get it straight. Sound of Music. Who starred?
Julie Andrews.
Who is your favorite?
Julie Andrews.
There you go. I learned that from podcast number 1. So anybody who says you can't learn anything from these podcasts, I learned something.
Oh, you can learn plenty from these podcasts.
It all goes back to either Disney, Star Wars, or Julie Andrews.
Or John Williams, I suppose.
And then now going further into comedic superhero television, and then in the 90s we got The Tick.
Oh God. I
Now, who
hate
here watched
one.
that?
I used
No,
to
that
watch
was-
it a lot, but I don't really remember
Well, it
much
started
about
off
it.
as an animated. It was animated first, and then they made it a reality. And
Yeah.
the animated was hysterical.
Yeah,
Wasn't it Patrick
Patrick
Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, that was 2001 actually, not the 90s, 2001 with Patrick Warburton, and I think it starred like it only
So
had
for people who don't
8
know who that
episodes.
is, because a lot of people probably won't.
If anyone goes to the Disneyland parks,
Yes.
they're gonna hear him.
He is the voice
He's Putty.
soaring over California. He's Hello.
Yeah, but he was on
Patrick.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, he's Buddy from Seinfeld.
And he's
Rules
Joe
of
from
Engagement.
Family Guy.
And Rules of Engagement.
And in the queue for Star Tours, he's also one of the robots. As you walk up, he's scanning you.
That's right, yeah. Right before you go around the bend.
Yes.
He's the one. Hello, everybody. How you doing there, partner?
You can't miss it
Yeah.
because he sounds the same in anything he does.
He does. It's a very distinct voice.
Yeah. And what a great show this was. But the thing that really bugged me about it was he wore this plastic-looking suit. How can
that
you
was the
get
point.
anywhere? How can you get anywhere in this big? For me, it all goes back to the suit. How can you get anywhere in this suit?
But that was the point of the show.
I
was
know.
the
I know.
I think it was supposed to be a parody on superheroes.
I know that. It had a big muscle suit, but it looked too uncomfortable. It's like the Flash from the 90s.
Hey, I like the Flash.
The Flash was great, but his suit was all foam.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, first of all, you're gonna suffocate. You run 38 seconds.
But remember, these
You
people
are
have
gonna
no
collapse.
muscle. But remember,
Yeah,
these
remember,
other people
they're
have no
superheroes.
muscles, so they have to build some kind of muscles for them.
You also gotta remember they're superheroes. They're not you. They're not going to collapse.
That is their superpower, to not collapse.
To constantly rehydrate.
That's Batman's superpower, is he doesn't collapse in all that outfit.
He doesn't sweat in all that black.
But there are certain episodes of Batman where you can see where he's sweating under the armpits. Even in Superman 2, when he lifts up Zod, his armpit is all sweaty.
Superman sweats?
In Superman 2, when he lifts up Zod, his armpit is all sweaty.
But it's super sweat.
But at least change his suit, get a hair dryer. On most of the episodes of Batman, they did have people who were there just with hair dryers to dry out their armpits. But every once in a while, you would see the stain there.
That's the job I
Imagine
want.
saying
Armpit
that.
dryer.
I had once
Moving on.
I
Moving
once
on.
interviewed
So
Yvonne
nasty.
Craig, who played Batgirl, and she was saying after every take, someone would run up with a hair dryer and blow dry Burt Ward and Adam West because superheroes should not sweat. But every once in a while, a shot would get by, you'd see him sweat. But with Superman, because that was a good medium shot where he lifts up Zod, and you're not looking at this big triumphant moment, you're looking at the sweat stain.
Ew.
I was looking at the triumphant moment.
Give him some shield, okay? Not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but shield underneath the armpit.
Moving on. So nasty.
So, which superhero shows? What?
Well, we kind of glossed over all the Superman, Smallville, Lois and Clark shows.
As we should.
Oh no, come on.
Okay.
Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman
Okay.
has its place.
Bridge.
Wait, what about Superboy? Wasn't that first?
It was, but I never knew about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
there's some
okay,
Mexican
Sarah,
guy
Bridge,
play a Superboy.
Batman,
It's funny.
and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Lois and Clark. Batman was the goofy, silly, pow, pow, pow.
Right.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was more about the ensemble.
Okay.
And how does
Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman is all about love. For me, anyway.
Yeah, it was very sappy,
It was very
though.
sappy.
And that's the problem because it went away from let's appeal to young boys who want to be superheroes, and let's see maybe we can appeal
Well,
to
maybe you
to
can reel
girls who
in
are looking-
some girls into the fangirl status
And
by
that-
having these nice love stories.
Nothing wrong
You know
with
what?
that, but did they have to make it like? Oh my God! I'd come home and you're watching Lois and Clark, and he says the most ridiculous stuff to be romantic.
But
And my
he's-
wife would look at me and go, "How come you never say that? How
But
come you
you know
never
what?
say?" And people don't say that. in
But he's
real
so cute
life.
as he's saying it. His little shiny
You
cheeks.
realize this is Dean Cain we're talking about.
And then the episode where he takes her, flies her up in the air.
But, you know,
in the
girls already
sky.
have their romantic shows and the shows that deal with that.
Well, you
They
know
don't
what?
need to go
Never
into the
enough.
superhero
One,
genre.
I
one
give 'em-
show's never enough.
I give him credit for going for at least trying that direction with
Yeah.
superheroes.
I
gotta
mean,
give
it
him
did
that.
work for several seasons.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll give Lois and Clark more credit than I'll give a lot of the shows of today. Because as much as I didn't really get into it, I think it was a much superior show to Smallville and a lot of these other shows, which basically
Superior
just...
to Smallville?
Oh yeah,
I don't know about that.
Smallville ticked me off because it took all the stuff that we knew about Superman and threw it out the window and just said, "No, none of that's true. We're just going
you
to
got a
create a
point.
new Superman." I mean, him knowing Lex Luthor as a kid.
Yeah, okay, all right,
and
all right.
He knew Lois Lane had a nice relationship with him before he moved to Metropolis. But I saw Superman the movie, and they were strangers when they met in Metropolis.
Now, that Lois Lane, played by Erica Duran's, she was not Lois Lane.
Plus the age difference too.
And I also like the fact that it was more colorful, and you know,
Which one was more colorful?
Lois and Clark,
Yes.
and it also was a little cornier. You know, it had a little bit. At least you know when you
Had
were
that
watching
cheese.
it, you could laugh at it. To me, when you make a story based on the superhero that's been a legend for 75 years, any of them, you should at least stay true to the nature of who they were. And I don't think in Smallville they did that at all.
Yeah, I don't think that was their intention.
But
But
it should have been.
It should have
their
been
intention.
exactly. Now, as a side note to Dean Cain, and Cara, this is coming to you. About 10 years ago, I had worked on a show called Ripley's Believe It or Not with Dean Cain. I had to teach him how to make animal balloons, and
Aw.
I had brought in a Superman cape for him to sign for you. He signed it. I never saw it again. I put it with all my stuff. When I went to leave for the day,
So
it was gone.
It got stolen.
It got
You
stolen.
just made a mistake telling her. 'Cause
I
now,
know.
Next time you have a party, she's going to be over that house and she's going to take everyone
I have-
aside with a knife. Where's my Superman
I have been
cape?
sitting on that story for 10 years.
It's okay. I got a signature of the guy who drew Superman when I was in junior high school.
It was right. Dean Cain across the middle of the S. I thought this is awesome.
I will tell you this: a lot of people they don't like Dean Cain. They don't think he can act, but he was in a movie that I'll throw out there for people to check out if they want to see a really good movie. And he is 99% of the movie the only actor really in the film. And it's a movie called Lost, a really low budget movie that he made. So if you want to see Dean Cain do something really good, it's called Lost.
Nice.
Who here remembers Manimal? Who remembers
God, I saw
Manimal?
that. It was scary.
But he could turn into an animal and
know.
fight crime.
I know, but the animal he turned in was not cute.
But it's called, it's like Sharknado. You
Yeah,
just
but it
hear the
wasn't
title
cute.
and you're on board. So how do we feel about superhero shows going from the lone superhero plus sidekick to the ensemble such as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think we found that actually it works. I mean, in terms of, well, if you think of Power Rangers, if you think of Ninja Turtles, yeah, they're
Yeah.
all the same superhero, but
Vampires, not
Okay,
werewolves.
she's
Generally-
talking into the microphone.
generally when there's an ensemble cast, people seem to really like that. And I do. I mean, Avengers, come on.
Well, you know what I think was brilliant about the Avengers is they took the time to absolutely develop each and every character, and then you couldn't wait to see how they were going to interact. Whereas
That's
with
true.
this Batman and Superman coming
But
out,
let's redirect it back to television. Whereas the Superman, Batman had a sidekick, but
thing-
going off to like Heroes
The
and
thing about Agents
S.H.I.E.L.D.
The thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And Power
in the
Rangers.
shows, the thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's the one thing that I don't like about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is now it's a really good companion piece with like the Avengers and all that in the big screen, but every time they go out to do something, I'm like, well, why aren't they calling? It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't call the people.
Well, they get into that because the Avengers are for like the big giant alien attacks. They can go and search out the little known, the smaller occurrences.
It just
You're
seems like
missing- You need to see episode 2 to understand that.
Okay,
Yes.
I haven't seen episode 2 yet because to me it's like it feels like they gotta hopefully make some appearances every once in a while. You know what I mean? Because now that they've joined together as the Avengers, it would seem like why would any superhero just fight on their own now? When there's this big evil guy out there, why would Iron Man say, I'm just going to go it alone, rather than saying, let's get the team
Well,
back
it's like in
together?
Die Hard. First the cops showed up, then the FBI showed up. So I think same thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. First they'll show up.
But this is not a prequel. It's
No. But if something is considered too big for them to handle, they may call in the Avengers.
but also even if you think about it,
and that's the movie.
but the Shield, when Shield was first making its appearance at the end of all the Avenger movies or the individual superhero movies, that was their role. Was they were the behind the scenes
Right.
agency that was trying to deal with supernatural forces, and the Avengers was just one of the tools they were trying to compile to do that. And now we're exploring the rest of that.
I just wish it had been more of a. Maybe they had made it more of a prequel, so it would have made sense that Thor and Captain America aren't being called rather than these smaller superheroes. Because to me, now that they've got a team, it doesn't make sense to break up the team, which also kind of makes the movies not make sense. So I wish they wouldn't stop talking about the New York incident in the movies because now we know they have the relationship, and whenever they have problems, they should be calling for help. But that being said, this is the one problem I have with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is I wish it would have been a prequel so it would have made more sense. But, on the other hand, I really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's kind of bringing the fun back to it. So, as long as I can get over that bump realizing this is TV and they're not going to get Robert Downey Jr. on television, then you can actually really enjoy the show as its own entity.
Plus, it's only been 1 or 2 episodes. We have to give it a chance to
You do
establish
need to
itself.
see episode 2, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm
They
hearing.
also give you a little mystery why he's in what is that, Bahama?
Tahiti?
Tahiti, yeah.
Which is great. At the end of
Yeah,
every
makes you
episode,
wonder.
they give you a huge tease for the next episode.
Right.
And not just a little, hey, who ate the bag with my name on it in the refrigerator?
Right,
Dun, dun, dun.
So that basically means there's going to be a great cliffhanger at the end of the season. So please, everybody continue watching because I'd hate to find out that I'm going to get a cliffhanger and there's going to be no answers.
Well, if that does happen, they'll answer it in the movies.
I hope so because it's one of the reasons I don't want. I wait till shows come on DVD a lot because I'm scared I'm not going to get an ending.
I think to answer your question, I'm still gonna go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. is the behind the scenes that sets everything up for the Avengers. So when they need the Avengers for something big like the alien attack on New York, they can call these guys. All right, guys, this is where we left off. You take it from here, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can't take on the big centipede aliens from outer space.
The reasoning doesn't work for me, but on the other hand, the show's a fun show, so I'm glad it's there compared to a lot of the TV that's out there nowadays.
But and this is not a spoiler alert. It's not a spoiler, but they do make mention in episode 2 of finding the hammer, and so they're out there researching these phenomenon. They don't need the A team for everything. They reference that. My point being that's what they're doing. They're researching all these supernatural phenomenon. They don't need the Avengers out there to do that.
They're not superhero. They do behind the scenes.
They can only do so much.
Right.
So I think all in all, the S.H.I.E.L.D. is worthy enough to get this group discussion going because I think it's a great superhero show that we've been working up to since Superman and Batman and Shazam, the Hulk, Wonder Woman, all the way up to now.
I just hope that they use it as a way to bring the superhero television show back to its comic book roots. A lot of I saw the pilot for the Wonder Woman thing they were doing, the David E. Kelly Wonder Woman, and that wasn't going to fly because they changed so much and it got on the internet and everybody was like, we don't want to see this because it's not Wonder Woman. They changed her so much. The problem is you got to understand who these. If you're going to make changes, it's fine, but understand and stay true to the nature of who they are. And I feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of staying true to the nature of the Marvel comic books.
Very much so.
I think that's a positive thing. But when I watch shows like Arrow, and that's saying true to nothing except for, we want teenage girls to lust over this guy. That's all that show is for.
Well, just look at the poster. It says it all right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, so to wrap it up, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Avengers Assemble.
Form of a
Of
waterfall.
course, it's only been 2 episodes, so we don't know what'll happen halfway through the season.
Well, so
it could turn into a hero.
just like the first episode of Smallville, you could by watching it, it's like, well, this ain't no Superman story.
Right. So.
But you watch S.H.I.E.L.D., like, okay, this fits perfectly into the continuity and universe of the Avengers.
Right, well, we should lay mention, since we're talking about TV, about the stupidest ending of any television series superhero, the ending of Smallville, that last 5 minutes.
Did we see that?
I haven't made it that far. I finally gave up after
Yeah.
season 3.
It's when he finally gets his cape.
costume.
I won't give it away since you haven't seen it.
You know what? I
but
think we
it
did
is
see that.
Stupid.
No, we did see
Does
it because
he fly?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah, they
Tom finally they put Tom Welling in the suit where he
Yeah, but it
belongs.
was like
It's
the
so
last
corny,
minute.
and his character changes like into the Christopher Reeve character as he's walking through the Daily Planet. It's like, wait a minute, they built up Tom Welling to play Superman this way, and then they're gonna just totally change him in the last minute of the series. So,
All right,
Yeah.
so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. good,
Yes.
Yes.
Smallville not so much according to
Hey,
Mark.
I still
Yeah.
like it. I don't care.
All right, you know what? Everyone, put down your cell phones. Prepare for some trivia. Wonder Twin
Twin
Power,
Power,
activate.
Form of trivia.
Are there buzzers? How are
No,
we doing this?
just say your name really loudly.
Okay, as our
All right.
buzzer.
Yes. All right. What villain appeared in what TV show? Archer.
Sarah. I'm gonna say Arrow. I'm gonna throw out a guess.
That is a very good educated guess. But
Okay.
wrong. Anyone else?
The city.
I've never seen Archer.
I will give you a hint. He was played by Art Carney.
I would
Never
guess
seen Archer.
Dave. I'm gonna just guess Batman.
And Dave gets a point.
Aw.
And a
Give me
point.
Batman.
Well, because Art Carney, would he be in Smallville?
I don't know
Look
who
at the
he is.
time period.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is.
All right. Siler.
Dave, and I gotta go with Heroes.
And the point goes to Dave.
2-0. Yes. That's my superpower.
Evil
Giving
guy.
points.
Definitely.
Count Dracula.
Frankenberry.
That's Count Chocula.
I'll give you a hint. He was played by Morgan Freeman.
Oh, Sarah.
You're reading
She's looking at her iPad. She's looking at her iPad.
I'm trying to
Okay.
remember the name. No, it's the Spidey Superstore.
Ah! And the point goes to Sarah.
Just because she's married to the person asking the question doesn't mean she gets to get away with it.
I'm just looking up the name of the show.
We
I never
just
saw
talked
it.
about
So we
that.
know my superpower is getting points. Sarah's superpower is reading the iPad.
Yes.
All right, next one. Jack McGee.
The Incredible
Mark.
Hulk.
Oh, there you. Oh,
She didn't say her
she
name.
didn't say her
She
name,
didn't
so
say
it
her
goes to
name.
Mark.
I didn't know
Incredible
the
Hulk.
Not really a villain, but just a
Oh.
reporter who was just too nosy
He's
for
kind
his
of
own
a
He was
business.
the nemesis.
Yeah. Oh, much.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry, Mr. McGee.
Mr. Mixelplick.
Mark. Superman. You gotta say your name.
51.
Kara? Kara?
Superman. Superman.
The Adventures of Superman? He was in the Super Friends at least
No,
once.
the Lois and Clark.
And the point goes to Kara.
But he was in the Super Friends
Mr.
at least
Mixelplick,
once.
played by Howie Mandel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Howie Mandel?
Yeah,
Really?
played Mr. Mixelplick. As a
I
kid,
think I remember that.
as a kid, I was always so upset because I could never pronounce his name.
Howie Mandel.
But can you say it backwards?
Nope.
Howie
Mr.
Mandel's not a good
Mixelplick.
choice for him. I would have done Bruce Campbell.
Okay. Underage drinking.
Dave, I'm gonna guess Shazam.
Shazam! And the point goes to Dave.
Couldn't think of the show fast enough.
Straight trivia. Who played Wonder Woman in the 1974 TV movie?
Mark. Kathy Lee Crosby.
There you go. You'll be paying attention. Deborah Winger played the younger sister to what hero?
I'm going to say Mark. Is it the Bionic Woman?
No.
Dave, I'm gonna guess. Would it be Greatest American Hero?
No.
That was a guess.
Bullock. No. Don't look at me. I don't know the answer.
She's telling me who the Bionic Girl was.
I will give you a hint. Kara should know this.
Doesn't mean anything. Give me another hint.
Kara should know this. She's a big Wonder Woman fan. She should know this. Kara?
Mark.
Mark!
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman is correct. And her
She doesn't
her
know who Deborah Winger is. Though.
Let's see if
I
she
don't know
knows
the
now.
I don't know
Kara?
the name. Sorry.
Kara, answer.
I don't know the name. Oh, Wonder Woman.
There you go.
One
don't
goes
know
to
the
Kara.
name of
Yeah,
Taken
you're
from
going to edit
Mark.
that together so it sounds like she
Wonder Woman, Kara.
Wonder Woman.
There you
There you
go.
go.
And she played Drusilla, aka Wonder Girl.
She'll get it right in post.
Drusilla. Isn't that an evil stepsister?
No, that was her sister that she was. Yeah, now she only showed like a couple episodes, like 2 episodes.
All right. Well, I think Dave's in the lead with this. Whose suit enables them to just fly and not to land?
Mark. Greatest American Hero.
And the point goes to Mark. Name 2 hero alter egos who are also billionaire playboys.
Sarah.
Girls.
Bruce Wayne,
Bruce Wayne.
Batman,
Uh-huh.
and someone else help me out here.
Dave, I'm gonna have to go with Iron Man's alter ego, Stark.
Just TV shows.
The Avengers Iron Man.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Iron Man. Stark, Tony
Until
Stark.
we see him.
The animated Iron Man.
I will take that. I was looking for Oliver Queen and Arrow, but we'll go for Tony
Since
Stark.
None
as
of
the-
us ever want to know that show exists.
In the episode of Spidey Super Stories titled The Birthday Bandit, what did Spidey do after capturing the Birthday Bandit?
Sarah, fed him cookies?
No.
This was one of the ones I watched.
Yes, it was.
Oh my god.
Dave, didn't he imprison him and send him out into outer space?
No. And when you hear this, you're just going to wonder how this
He
got
wants a
past
piece
the
of cake.
censors.
Kara, he wants a piece of cake.
No, what did he do as a punishment?
No.
Oh.
What did Spider-Man do after capturing the Birthday Bandit?
He sang him happy birthday? He gave him a birthday
Ice
party.
cream. He
I can't
used ice
remember.
cream.
This is bugging me because it wasn't that long ago.
He spent the rest of his day off doing laundry in his birthday suit.
God.
Oh.
So the end
Spider-Man?
graphic to this show, there he is sitting in a chair. You see his bare arms and his bare legs, still fully masked, and the laundry machine is going.
Oh.
And I watched about 7 or 8 episodes to get that one question.
Okay,
Because that is worthy of
that's
telling.
pretty sad.
Name 3 actors who played Superman on TV.
Sarah.
Dean Cain,
Uh-huh.
Christopher Reeve, George Reeve, and my cutie guy, Tom.
Oh, you said that. Tom
yeah,
Welling.
Tom Wellington. Yeah.
Tom
Tom
Wellington is not the right answer.
But that's what she
Tom
calls him,
Welling.
like Beef Wellington.
She wants to eat him.
And I don't know, judges, are we going to accept George Reeves? The
Yes,
judges
I
say
George
no.
Reeve. George Reeve's on TV, yes.
Okay, one of you said George Reeves.
George Reeve.
I don't know who it was,
George Reeve.
but I may be looking right at them.
I don't care. I said George Reeve.
How many spin-offs did Smallville have?
How many what?
Spin-off shows
What is
that
a spin-off?
Smallville have.
Mark, 0.
That
Sarah.
answer's wrong.
Counter with 2.
Ooh.
I would say the Arrow.
Arrow.
Is that the same actor? Not the same actor, it's not a spin-off.
Aquaman.
No,
Aquaman.
no, it is a.
No, Aquaman didn't go.
But it was
Aquaman
still a
No,
show. It didn't go, but they still
No, they
fully.
never aired Arrow. They never
They aired it on
Aquaman.
iTunes. You can
No.
get that full episode on
Oh, that
iTunes.
doesn't count. They put together a pilot so you could watch it. That's not a show. A show is something that
It
goes
was
on
a-
TV.
I didn't say series. I said show.
But this was about television, superhero
But this is about
shows.
shows. All right, so Arrow, which
Yeah,
which is spun off from Smallville.
It's not
And
really a
Aquaman.
spin-off.
It is a spin-off.
It is not a spin-off.
It
They
is a
just-
spin-off
just 'cause
because
they
it
did
was produced because the character did so well in Smallville.
It's a spin-off.
Dave, get him.
I
Spin-off.
got to back Rich on this one.
Spin-off is when it comes from the show. When they made the Jeffersons, they used the same wheezy
Nothing to
George
do with the
Jefferson.
actors. It has to do with the characters, and it spun off
No, because
from the show.
Green Arrow
Same
already-
producers, same writers.
Green Arrow already existed. It was it was something they created out of comic books. It was not a spin-off of the show.
But
Otherwise,
it was made because the character did so well in Smallville.
how they do spin-offs in TV is they sit there and say, we're going to do a spin-off, so put the character in the show to start it off. This is what they did with all the spin-offs. And it's the same actor that then bleeds over into his own show.
Yeah, now The Flash is going to have his own show as a spin-off from Arrow.
That might be true. But
It is
Arrow
true.
did not come from...
Yes, it did.
I thought the Flash was going to be a spin-off of that Spider-Man birthday suit.
All right, moving right along. All right, next category. Name the superheroes and their mode of transformation. Name the superhero's mode of transformation. Batman.
Dave,
Bat.
the Bat Pole.
The Batpole, and the point goes to Dave.
That car.
Yes.
I got it. He just got to it first, looking at me like that.
Shazam.
Dave.
Mark. Yeah, just because you put the
I
microphone
know.
close to your mouth doesn't mean you
I
did.
did hear the D and Dave before Mark.
I got it. I'm going to go with Captain Marvel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that's not how he transforms. So you answered wrong.
He says Shazam, and that's his.
No, but
that
you
is
said
his
Captain
formation.
Marvel.
Well, Captain Marvel's the
He
character.
does not go Captain Marvel.
All right, Mark,
He goes
finish it off.
Shazam.
And then what happens?
And then he turns into a 45-year-old man.
The bolt of lightning comes down and strikes him, and it gives him his power.
All right, I give half a point to both of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Give me my half a point now.
Not that you're keeping track anyway.
Wonder Woman.
Sarah, she spins.
And how does she spin? Slowly or quickly?
It starts out
Slowly.
slow, and then it quickens and quickens.
And with a flash of light.
Clockwise or counterclockwise?
I believe she spins clockwise.
No, I think it's counterclockwise. Actually, she spins this way.
No, she spins this way.
I just saw her spinning about 15 times in this little segment that someone put together on YouTube. Yeah, I think it's clockwise.
It's clockwise.
Superman.
Let's face it, guys weren't looking to watch
Superman.
Dave.
Waiting for the spin to end.
Yep.
Superman in The Adventures of Superman.
Oh, Sarah, jumping out a window.
Well, that's phase 2.
Okay.
Mark, he rips open his shirt, revealing an S.
Yes, that's how he does it. Or jumping in a phone booth. Jumping in a phone booth.
telephone booth. Yeah.
And for those kids at home, when we had to make a phone call on the road, we had to stop, get out of our car, put a dime in a machine, and make a 3-minute call.
Oh my God.
And finally, the Hulk.
Mark. He gets angry.
Okay, I have down here, he gets pissed.
No, the words are, don't make me angry. You don't
Okay.
like me when I'm angry.
And the point goes to
It's
Mark.
not, you wouldn't like me when I get pissed.
And there you go. And I think Dave is the winner in superhero TV trivia.
Yes.
Yeah, by half a point that he stole.
All right, well, I want to thank everyone for being here. Dave, Mark, Kara, and Sarah.
I'd like to refer to as the champion, Dave.
All right, Champion Dave, take us out.
Do, 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 do.
And now Dave is walking away, very sad.
Dave, the champion man.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Word.
Well, who saw that coming? Dave was the champion.
Dave's very good at trivia. He lives for trivia. Every now and then, he'll call me up. Rich, I got a new trivia question.
That's right.
He loves it. So, Dave, congratulations. You'll get your plaque in the mail. So, until next week, thanks everyone once again for listening. We had a great time recording this session.
Please like us on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/skywalkingthroughneverland. And also, you can find us on Twitter at skywalkingpod, P-O-D. Those 5-star reviews on iTunes really help us out. If you just want to go to the iTunes store and search Skywalking, we will pop right up. As well, you can check out our website and learn a little more about us, skywalkingthroughneverland.com. That is skywalking through, T-H-R-O-U-G-H, neverland.com.
And there's also a link there to share your stories and pictures and videos and whatever it is you want to share.
Yeah, please send those in and we will share them on our next podcast.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things already, which we want to thank you guys for sending in. And remember,
Never land on Alderaan.
Thank you for listening to Skywalking Through Neverland. We would love to hear what you thought of the show. Please send feedback and suggestions. You can email us at share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
Please visit us at our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/skywalkingthroughneverland and on Twitter at skywalkingpod. All materials submitted become the property of Skywalking Through Neverland and are subject for use on our show. You can help support Skywalking Through Neverland by posting about us on Facebook, Twitter, or just tell another fanboy or girl. We would also really appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. A link to our iTunes page can be found on skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
Skywalking Through Neverland was created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Segment producers are David Scale, Richard Woloski, Sarah Woloski. Graphic design and website design by Sarah Woloski. Technical advisor, Peter Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is not affiliated with Lucasfilm Limited, Disneyland Resorts, or the Walt Disney Company.
All names, sounds, and related items of Star Wars and Disney are registered trademark and copyright Lucasfilm Ltd. and the Walt Disney Company and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All rights reserved. Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only.
All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Hey Hey Entertainment, copyright 2013. All rights reserved. No part of this show may be repurposed, reproduced, redistributed, or rebroadcasted without the written permission of Hey Hey Entertainment.
Sorry, all that had to be said.
Goodbye
Live long and prosper. Wait, sorry. May the force be with you.
And cut. That's a wrap.